At the very inception of the world, God recognized the need for rest. Even he, after expending 6 days to create the universe, took the 7th day to rest. Now, did you know that establishing a Sabbath rhythm, which pretty much just means rest, is one of the 10 commandments? On the list with do not murder, do not lie, do not covet, honor your father and mother, is remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. Now, I'll admit, when I was reintroduced to the concept of Sabbath during graduate school, the idea of setting aside a full day each week to intentionally rest induced more panic than anything. In fact, one of my assignments during this time was to rest. I was supposed to write about how I was going to incorporate this practice into my life, but truth be told, at the time, I thought the people telling me to rest, were crazy and completely out of touch with the life of a typical grad school student. At the time, Sabbath was not something I had even considered possible. Now, our weeks are typically filled by what I have often heard called ceaseless striving. The idea that we have to be doing something, we have to be productive, accomplishing a task. We can so easily fall into the lie that our worth, our identity as human beings is somehow based off of what we ourselves can accomplish. This is completely contrary to what God says. I came across this quote in the midst of our study on rest and Sabbath, and it says, "Our unwillingness to practice Sabbath is really an unwillingness to live within the limits of our humanity, to honor our finiteness." This stopped me in my tracks when I first read it. At the end of the day, we cannot do anything without God. Jesus talks about this very concept. He says, "Yes, I am the vine, you are the branches. Those who remain in me and I in them will produce much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing." You can't get much clearer than that. Jesus says we will produce much fruit only when we remain in him. Our source of life is Jesus. And when we participate in this way of life, that ceaseless striving, we really aren't living from a place of being filled up. The image that comes to my mind for me right now is the Energizer Bunny. Even though Energizer says their batteries will outlast the competition, there will come a time when the life of the battery will run its course and the bunny will cease to have the energy that it once had and will instead lack any sort of life. If we are not taking any time to fill up from our source of life, we will soon feel the effects of hopelessness, burnout, exhaustion. God didn't create us with this way of life, this way of living in mind. I heard someone once say, we don't rest from our work, we work from our rest. He calls us to rest, and ultimately he calls us to participate in a Sabbath rhythm. Taking a day to cease from striving and be filled up by him and him alone. Now, I can't tell you exactly how this will look in your own life. God created us each uniquely, and what a day of rest looks like to me in my current situation may look completely different for you, and that's okay. Maybe today, setting aside a full day of rest is not in the cards. I encourage you to work towards that goal, but really think about how you can incorporate rest into your life where you are intentionally seeking ways to be filled by Jesus. I realize in the midst of our current circumstances right now, our schedules are not as restricted and not filled up as much by work, appointments, or social engagements. However, I think God's call for Sabbath still remains the same. We need to understand that every day is a gift from God, and by observing a Sabbath, we are saying, God, I trust that you have given me enough minutes in my day to accomplish what I need to do. But I realize I will only be able to do those things if I am filled by your strength and your wisdom. I hope this prompts us all to live our lives from a place of abundance, knowing that God gives us everything we need, including time we need to accomplish the things he has set before us to do. All we have to do is live from his fullness, and we need to abide in him.